All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the News Now Nation channel. Today, we're talking to somebody really exciting. We're talking to Mr. Abhinav Srivastav, who is going to talk to us about his journey in the legal profession and the ups and downs that have led to where he is today. He is the founder of GSL Chambers, right? Am I right when I say that?
Yeah, hi Nishri. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk to you. And as I told you earlier, as a law student, I think it was very exciting for me to talk to somebody who's so experienced. I told all my friends, I'm talking to a very senior lawyer today. They were like, all right.
Oh, I'm not that senior yet.
No, but I mean, for a fifth year student, you are. So, thank you for doing this. So, just starting out, I think everybody will be interested to hear. I think you spoke a little bit about when we were talking earlier. You mentioned about how you were an engineering, come from an engineer family of engineers. So, how did you decide to take the decision to study law, and what was your life like as a law student?
So I am from Allahabad,
Hmm.
as you know,
Hmm.
and Allahabad is known for as a seat for law because it
Yeah.
has the high.
Yeah.
And there, I was always fascinated with it. Uh, my grandfather, maternal grandfather, he told me that there is a law school in Bangalore,
Correct.
which he read in a magazine in America.
Correct.
When he came back in '89. So that had some inkling, and I was not very good in science as such. I
Hmm.
wanted to field.
Yeah.
So that's how I was always fascinated with law, I think.
Hmm.
So that's how I ended up choosing law.
Awesome.
And
I think not liking science and that's why choosing law is something you still hear. That maths nahi aati thi. That's why I decided to do law, which is a little bit.
yeah, but I was one of the only students in my 11th standard who decided that I'm going to do law.
Wow.
So yeah, I was a science student and through, but in
Acha.
11th itself.
I see. So
So
where did you study law from and what was, life as a college going student in law like?
yeah, so I went to NLU Jodhpur
Huh?
and law student. It was a roller coaster ride. It was fun. Initial years, you don't know what you're doing, where you're going.
Correct.
Uh, but slowly, when you reach fourth year, fifth year, you understand
Yeah.
that what you want to do.
Correct.
Over the years, you do a lot of internships. I did a lot of internships so every year. So NLE Jodhpur has a system where you do two internships, the summers and the winters. So
Correct.
you do a lot of internships. You get to meet a lot of professionals.
Correct.
So so we had to do some NGO internship,
Huh.
some internships, law firm internships.
Huh.
So I did a lot of them. So I by fourth year, fifth year, I had decided that I want to do litigation,
Hmm.
and but I had some inkling that I want to do it after my masters,
Hmm.
and because I had some commercial inclination, so I
Hmm.
went and did my masters and came back and joined the litigation. Yes, that's how
Awesome.
came back.
And I think joining litigation, at least from what I see now, is still a bit of an unconventional choice. I mean, at least it has become now because corporate, everybody just enters a corporate space and everybody wants to get into a corporate firm and do, a corporate job. So why litigation? I'm somebody who's really fond of litigation too because I feel like that's where the fun lies. But for you, what was it like to make that decision to do litigation?
So so as I told you, I was doing a lot of internships and everything.
Yeah.
The charm of going to court
Yeah.
and every case being a different case. So
Yeah.
there are precedents and everything,
Yeah.
but every case, the way you
Mm.
deal with them, the way
Mm.
every new case, and
Correct.
there's a nuance there. So
Correct.
that really that gives you a kick out of it. And
Yeah,
when you are arguing a matter before court, that adrenaline rush is
absolutely.
different.
Absolutely.
So that is something that always charmed, gave me that inclination. And obviously, corporate world obviously it has its own benefits and
Correct.
everything. Downside of litigation is that it is not as paying as the
Yeah,
corporate side,
yeah,
which is a major problem. But the benefit is that you are your own boss. That's
yeah,
how I always wanted
yeah,
to do my own work.
yeah.
That's how I ended it.
Awesome. Awesome. So, I mean, I completely agree with you. I remember I had done an internship in the Supreme Court in Delhi, and that was the most fun internship I ever did. It was so exciting for me, and watching lawyers argue in front of judges was, I was like, this is the life I want to have. It was extremely exhilarating. Gives you a adrenaline rush, as you said. So you said you interned a lot. When you started off with your career, did you start with a litigation job as soon as you graduated?
Yes. So after my LLM, when I came back, I joined an EUR, Advocate on Record, and learned the nuances of the registry of the Supreme Court.
Hmm.
Ran around the whole place, learned
Hmm.
how it is done.
Yeah.
Then I went on to join a senior advocate.
Hmm.
So, so from there, I started off with litigation with an advocate on record, and then
Yeah.
went on to a chamber of a senior advocate,
I
and then
see.
I branched.
All right. And this decision to start your own practice is, would you say it's common? Would you say that was always on the cards, for like many, many years? Or was it something that just sort of happened?
If you are in litigation, then eventually everybody who's doing litigation eventually wants to set up their own practice.
Hmm.
Setting up a law firm is something that you choose whether you want to do it as a chamber practice or whether you want to do it as a law firm. That
Hmm.
choice you make.
Hmm.
Chose to be. I was lucky enough to have a partner who come across a partner who was of the same frequency, we had a matching
Hmm.
frequency.
Hmm.
Set up a law firm. We wanted to, because both of us have a commercial inclination. So we deal with matters which have some kind of commercial disputes, arbitration,
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
So for that kind of work, going beyond what do I say? Going beyond the usual scope of litigation, the normal civil and criminal litigation.
Yeah.
If you want to do more commercial, so you need to have a better setup for that.
Yeah.
The law firm setup gives you that opportunity
Yeah.
because corporates sometimes require that. So
Correct.
that's the only reason that gives you the benefit of a law firm.
Uh-huh.
So
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but you mentioned that you have two options to start a chamber or a law firm. I think a lot of our listeners will be interested to know the difference between the two.
So chamber practice basically means that you work as an independent advocate.
Hmm?
Uh, so you continue working as an independent advocate. No, you do not collaborate. You do not go into a partnership with anybody else.
Hmm.
And so if I remain as an advocate so I am an advocate on record in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I continue to be an advocate on record and do not collaborate with somebody else and do not form a firm.
Uh-huh.
Then I continue to be a chamber practitioner.
All right.
And if I collaborate with somebody like my partner, who's also an advocate on record, and we have now created a firm,
Huh.
which is also an award firm. So this is a banner that we've come under.
Correct.
So that's it.
That's the
That's how
basic. That's the basic difference
that's
between the two. All right. Um, So moving when you decided to start your own practice, since you said that was, sort of, it was almost like that is the road most traveled by. When you did decide to start your own practice, automatically I feel you become a bit of a manager because you have to hire people, you have to sort of manage situations a lot. And even though legally in the legal world you can't really, it's not the same, obviously, because like you can't market your legal firm, you cannot put up, hoardings of your legal firm, but I'm sure certain managerial functions came. Were those a big shift for you?
Yes, it is always a big shift. Uh, so once you, so as a junior associate or a junior to a senior, you are in a different role.
Mm.
Then you become an independent practitioner. You start learning that you have to handle clients, you have to do some certain other kind of work.
Correct.
And then once you become a manager in a firm or as in you have your own practice,
Yeah.
then you have to hire people, you have to get associates to work for you.
Correct.
So delegation of work is always a big problem.
Yeah.
And because you have to learn to let go.
Yeah.
That's a big
Yeah.
learning process.
Correct.
And it's a fun process because a lot of people find it hard
Yeah.
because you have a set way of working.
Yeah.
You want a pattern, you want the font to
Uh-huh.
be, you want alignment like that.
Correct.
But it is so it is obviously a good change.
It is.
And you learn a lot.
Yeah, I think often with in terms of delegation of responsibilities, sometimes you just feel like, I can do it faster, so I should just do it. And but you do have to. It's a emotional process of letting go, as you said, and that is required once you enter that managerial position and you start hiring people.
It's part of our profession, which is that we have to teach people. That's how.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
That you just have to teach the juniors. That's how
Correct.
profession goes.
Absolutely.
That's how we work.
Absolutely. So coming back to hiring people, is there any like standard formula you decided that I'm going to hire, these are the kind of people I'm going to hire, and this is the kind of team I want to build, or was it just it happened as it happened?
So there are certain things that we obviously take care that we do not. If I see a CV which is not which has grammatical errors, for example, or which is not properly justified.
Correct.
Which shows that the person has not taken care to even put in some effort into the
Correct.
CV. That is completely a no-no for me, at least.
Yeah.
I understand that it is a little harsh, but
correct.
That's the basic standard that you expect out of classrooms.
Correct.
You've been doing projects, 5 years you've been doing projects, so you know what justification is at least.
Correct.
So that is something. But other than that, I think most of the law schools now are, giving the basic information, basic law education that is required.
Correct.
And when you're coming into the profession, everything that you've learned is just a foundation.
Correct.
So, first year of law profession, you'll see that everything that you've learned is nothing. You have to learn everything again.
You have to learn everything again. Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's nothing like that. But yeah, obviously some basics you have to realize.
Yeah.
You have to.
No, I completely agree with you. I haven't worked at a law firm yet, but I know for a fact that I have learned more in my internships and in those few months where I got to intern in a variety of firms than I did at actual, by giving exams, even though that took all-nighters and so much work. When you're actually on the job, you end up learning a lot more and a lot faster. For sure, I agree.
So that's what, Mishi, that's what I would want to share a experience with you. So when I was doing my LLM, so I had joined the LLM right after my college. So our education system in India is very different. I did my LLM from UCL, which is in London. So there are teachers who are professionals, basically who are partners in law firms and everything.
Correct.
So their approach was very different. So the education that kind of education that I had in London was very different, and it was very closer to the real professional life that was there, which we do not sadly get in our education
Yeah.
in India.
Yeah.
And that is something that we need to work on.
I completely agree with you. In fact, I went for a summer school in my second year, very young. I went for a summer school in Oxford University, and we had Oxford professors teaching us, and it was a really great experience. But I had this one life changing experience happen to me over there. That so I have a habit of, even when I'm very focused and listening, sometimes my eyes wander. So teachers have often called me out that you're not paying attention, and I've been used to it from a very young age, but I am paying attention. So in India, I've always had the practice that a teacher will call out my name and I'll repeat what they have said, just to validate कि मैं सुन रही थी जो आप बोल रहे थे मुझको. And I was in Oxford, and the same thing happened. He called my name, the professor. He said, Mishi, this thing. So I repeated whatever he had said in the past 5 minutes. I said, you taught this, you said this, you said this. So he looked at me and he said, no, I know you were listening, but what do you think about it? And that was the first time somebody had asked me my opinion. I said, I don't have an opinion on this yet. And it was such a life-changing incident for me. I was like, oh, people ask opinion also. I'm supposed to have an opinion on an abstract legal concept. And I hope the Indian education system gets there at some point, but I think it's a long way to go.
That is very important. I mean, we start talking about it, something will happen.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So moving on to clients and talking to clients, since you said that's also a huge part at the end of the day, and because legal firms aren't allowed to market themselves, they aren't allowed to. You can't make brochures and pass them around. It's not a typical sales process that can happen, especially because there is such a it's such a vulnerable position that a client is usually in. For the most part, a client is usually in a vulnerable position when he comes to a lawyer. I want to ask you, what has been your experience interacting with clients, and what are the few, um, maybe to a law student like me or to aspiring litigants, what do you think is a basic cardinal sort of structure that they should follow while interacting with clients?
So, while interacting with clients, I would say I've always been, one principle that I've always followed is always be truthful, even if it is maybe in the short term it looks like you'll lose the client.
Correct.
Never give him a wrong advice. I've never done that.
Correct.
I've lost clients. Even when I had no clients, I've never given him wrong advice.
Wow.
Some people do not follow it. That is something that is the basic rule.
Correct.
So is one thing. Other than that, as far as advertisement is concerned, I think the profession, obviously, that's a debate that's been going on for such a long time.
Correct.
That advertise, but writing articles and opinions, that always gives us the opportunity to show our legal acumen, and that's how we do it. So that's one thing that always helps.
Correct.
So I always, when I'm looking at CVs, if people have written articles, that always gives us the opportunity to understand and I go through the articles. I actually, if I see it in a journal, I go through it, see, understand. So I think the litigants also, when you are interacting with litigants, you see a perspective. You can give them a perspective on different things when you're writing articles.
Yeah.
So that is which really helps.
Yeah.
Other than that, client interaction is always based around the needs.
Yeah.
So it's always customized. Some people need it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know how to give an answer to this.
No, you're right. I think no. I mean, obviously, I'm not asking you for specific legal advice, but I know what you're saying. In each, and I think being honest, what you said in the beginning is so important. And sometimes it makes you lose clients because you have to give a accurate picture, and the accurate picture is not always very pretty. So, but that's how the profession is. Another really interesting thing that I think is sorry. Could you hear that noise? No, sorry. Because I heard somebody else. Anyway, so I was saying that it's such a what was I saying? Yeah, I'm saying that one thing that I've noticed when in the few opportunities that I've gotten to interact with clients or even family, friends, etc. Because I feel like moment you tell somebody you're a lawyer or that you're a law student, they have one question for you to do with the legal field. Like every time I'm like, I don't know, Baba. What you're saying is very complex and it's very debatable. The law is not black and white. But something that is really interesting that I have often heard and is there is a acute lack of knowledge, like a really strong reason that I wanted to study law back when I was 17 years old was even though I didn't know if I ever wanted to practice law in a commercial sense, in a corporate sense, or in sort of in even in litigation. Um, one thing that I said that knowledge to be able to talk to a lawyer, because when clients come, they come with absolutely no knowledge. Would you agree, or do you think that that is changing over the years?
So that has changed over the years.
Yeah.
So now, especially if you see the litigants now, they are quite aware. The information has dissipated to a lot of people because of social media, Google, and everybody does a lot of Googling now, which is sometimes detrimental to their cases also.
Yeah.
Because they do not actually realize what they are getting into, but they're not naive now for that matter.
Yeah.
They know a lot of law, at least the superficial knowledge they have.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was about to tell you, you said something that I thought I'll tell you. I'm sorry, I just missed out. You said something about information. I was telling you that clients these days have actually Supreme Court, when they reach the higher courts, they have done so much of litigation that they are aware of the law. So it's not like you can tell them anything and they'll agree to it. It's not like that. I have never seen a client which has come to me with said who doesn't have knowledge of his case at least.
Correct. No, you're right. I think by the time they've reached the Supreme Court, they've already been through this process. By the time they've come to you as a lawyer, they've already been to, a district court lawyer. Absolutely.
And they know everything. Even when, even if they do not, even the clients which come from villages, they have good knowledge about it.
Wow.
That's how.
Wow. Yeah. I think, okay, so just as we wrap up, I would, as if I'm sure there are a lot of our readers and listeners who are just entering the job market for the first time, and to them, obviously, they have a few years left before they can start something of their own. But if somebody wants to start something of their own in the legal field, if they want to become their own boss, what should they do to become another version of you?
Okay. So, few things to remember. I would say that you have to first be really ready to face the difficulties of litigation. If you're into litigation, that you will not have enough money initially.
Yeah.
You have to suffer through that. You will have a lot of problems. Initially, see, 5-7 years into the profession, it is always with everybody I've known in litigation. Nobody is, except for a few, nobody has ever told me that initial 5-7 years of litigation has been comfortable. Everybody is worried about clients. When you're making your clients, when you're trying to prove yourself, goodwill, you'll always face this problem.
Yeah.
There will not be enough money, clients.
Yeah.
So you have to work your ass off. I'm sorry. Work yourself. You have to work a lot.
Yeah.
And put your head down. Keep at it. Learn as much as you can from everybody.
Yeah.
And a problem that I see now in the current batches that are coming, I don't know why, but they are very fickle. They join a office and they move on very fast. So that is something that I think is hampering their progress, because if you stay at an office for 3 months, 6 months, you are not likely to build relationships.
Correct.
So this profession develops on relationships,
Ah.
and most of my clients that come to me are based on relationships. So that only happens when you have, and a
Yeah.
relationship is not with 3 months or 6 months.
Correct, correct. And you have to be active in the networking space as well, and make sure yeah. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's a, yeah, it's a,
You have to meet people, you have to start writing articles, talking to people.
absolutely,
Social,
absolutely.
something.
Awesome.
I'm
It
bad.
was, sorry?
I'm bad at it, but yeah, I'm bad at this.
I'm sure you're not. I'm sure you're not. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And I think I have some really interesting insights, not only as somebody who got to interview you, but also as a young law student. And I'm sure if there are other young law students watching this, including my friends, I'm sure they will really enjoy some of the things you said and gain some really useful insights. So thank you so much for doing this. And we hope everybody who watched this enjoyed this interview. Thank you.